Today we're going to discuss small business psychology, how we sabotage and, more importantly, enhance our paths to success, and to help us better interact with our coworkers and customers. To help us with that is Dr. Tara Fields, licensed marriage and family therapist. She was one of the original therapists on A&E's Intervention and Hoarders, and most recently, the host of Fix My Family. To cut to the chase, when we're talking about psychology in business, the way I look at it, we're talking about working, first on ourselves, really, what we can do for ourselves, then working on the people that we work with, and then, of course, our customers.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, because if you don't have that self-awareness, knowing who and what triggers you, you really can't be present and do the best job and have the best connection with your customers.
Right, so it all starts
with you,
with
absolutely.
Us. There's also the self-doubt thing, like somehow not feeling you're good enough. I remember for years I felt like I wasn't experienced enough to do certain things.
So many people that come across so self-confident actually do have that fear. At some point, I'm going to be found out. They're going to find that I'm really not talented enough or experienced or knowledgeable. If I really get that job, they're going to find out, like, holy Toledo, what were we thinking of? So that is a place to start, to really look at your beliefs about yourself and where do those beliefs come from. The other thing that you can do is what we do if we as therapists are treating depression, anxiety, so many things, and working on self-esteem, which is what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. And in a nutshell, what that is noticing your self-talk, and then changing it, because what you say to yourself will determine how you're feeling. So if you're someone who's always saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail, I'm not good enough, it always turns out poorly, well, then the feelings follow and then your behavior follows.
Right.
So start noticing the negative self-talk. Challenge it. Is that really true? Am I really terrible?
Well, I think the important thing for entrepreneurs is that in order to keep growing, we have to take on challenges that we haven't done before.
Yeah. You know, you made me think of something else when you said that, is that we assume people are going to be against us, but really they want us to succeed. So even though you were saying, oh my gosh, I don't really know all of this, they want you to succeed, so they're going to help you. And that's the really wonderful thing about really assuming that people are on your side. Of course, not ignoring the radar that says that person isn't, but people want you to win. They want you to be successful. They also want you to make them happy. They want your product or your service to turn out well.
Especially if they're your client and they're paying you for it.
Right, but you also, there's one other thing that you said that's important, which is I will say to myself, I will say to, patients, I even say to my husband, if during the day or at least the week, you don't feel a little uncomfortable or anxiety when you're about to do something, stretch yourself, then you're not putting yourself in a position where you can grow. So if your goal is, I just want to be really comfortable all the time, odds are, you're not going to get on that path that can take you higher and to achieve those goals that you really have in your heart.
So this brings me to another thing, which I guess is part of like what we're talking to is the self-awareness thing. I mean, how do you know when you're being too soft and too lenient? Right. And then there are those people that think that they're treating their employees, like kings, and they're actually the biggest hard asses to work for in the world.
Right.
So how do you know where you stand?
Well, to start with, are you being too soft? The first reality check is, are things just running amok? Are people disrespecting you? Is it more like a playground than a place of business? And they kind of assume you're not going to do much about it. So that's to the extreme.
Right.
But again, if you're a good person, you can say, here's what I want, here are my expectations, and I also always want to know that I'm being assertive when I talk to you as opposed to aggressive. There's 3 places on a spectrum you could be. The one end of this spectrum is when you say too soft, am I giving myself up? Am I being a doormat? The other extreme is being aggressive, where you're just going after what you want, but you don't give that person the sense that there's a human being there and that you are taking their feelings into account as well as yours. That's what being assertive is. You're very clear that you have a right to say what you want, to have the expectations you do, but you always treat the other person like a human being, and you convey that at all times.